Am I the a-hole for expecting my ex-girlfriend to move out after she broke up with me, even though she has nowhere else to go? I, 27 male, have been with my girlfriend Megan, 26 female, for 4 years, and we've lived together for 2 of them. We live in a house I inherited from my grandmother. Megan quit her job a while ago to pursue her master's degree full-time, since her bachelor's wasn't opening any doors. I've been supporting her financially and emotionally while she's been in school. To be clear, I never resented that. I wanted to support her goals and was proud she was pushing forward in life. Her program is intense, and she's even taking summer courses. I work full-time and also take care of the house, which means some things slip through the cracks. I cook, clean, and try to keep things in decent shape. It's not perfect, but I genuinely don't think it's bad. I'd comfortably have friends over without worrying about the place looking or smelling off. I'm not an amazing chef, but I know my way around the kitchen. Though yeah, they're mostly basic dinners. The past couple of months have been hard. Megan's stress levels have been through the roof, and tensions between us have grown. She's been unhappy with how I clean or cook, saying I don't meet her standards. I get that she's overwhelmed, but I felt like nothing I did was ever enough. I still tried to be patient and supportive, but things hit a boiling point and we had a big argument. Megan broke up with me. It hurt, but I honestly think it was for the best. We were clearly not making each other happy anymore, so what was the point? Here's the problem. Now that we're no longer together, I think it's fair for her to move out. She doesn't agree. She says she has nowhere else to go, and that if she's forced to leave, she'll have to drop out of her program. Her mom and stepdad live the RV life, and she doesn't have friends who can take her in. She did receive a decent amount of money from her own grandmother when she passed, but she used most of it to cover her tuition. I know she wasn't blowing it. It really did go to school, but now she's tapped out and stuck. I get that this situation sucks, and I don't want to see her crash and burn, but I also don't feel like I should have to keep living with someone who broke up with me. I've already given her 45 days to figure something out, even though, legally, I'm only required to give her 30. She's now trying to say she wants to work things out, but to me, it feels more like panic and desperation than a genuine desire to fix the relationship. I don't hate her, but I don't think it's healthy for either of us to keep living together in this limbo. So, am I the a-hole for expecting her to move out after she broke up with me? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She doesn't agree. Tough. Expecting her ex-boyfriend to continue supporting her is wild. You gave her 45 days. That was generous enough. If she doesn't leave by then, file for eviction. The ex-boyfriend who paid for everything who she broke up with because he didn't cook and clean for her well enough? The audacity of this weirdo. In his house. Not hers, not theirs, not a rental. His house he owns. What a dumbass. Not the a-hole. She ended the relationship. That comes with consequences like moving out of your house. Compassion is one thing, but you're not obligated to provide free housing to an ex who chose to walk away. 45 days is more than generous. Sorry for the hijack, but I just wanted to add a PSA. This post is proof, just in case anybody had doubts, that even someone dumb as dog spit can get a master's degree. She lives in a place where she had someone that willingly played the role of bang butler for her, and at no time whatsoever did it occur to her that maybe she should thank OP or her lucky stars. Whatever career she ends up in, I'm really hoping it isn't one that requires good judgment or an iota of common sense. Not the a-hole OP. There are people out here who would kill for a partner that gives as much support as you did. I hope you find your person. She's been unhappy with how I clean or cook, saying I don't meet her standards. The goal of someone to exist because of someone else's charity, and then complain about how they give it. You're not the a-hole, but she's an enormous one, and you're good to be rid of her. Kick her out after 30 days, like the law requires. She probably should have thought of this before breaking up with her meal ticket. Oh, this. She broke up with OP because she wasn't satisfied with his service. Wonder if she ever did any work around the house or contributed at all. She did prior to entering the program, but we have different standards or definitions of what's clean or what's good. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling a friend that a tattoo on her chest saying "Forever Brian's" is a deal breaker for most men, even though Brian has since passed away? I've got a friend named Ula that is relatively new, as I've only known her for 4 years. She has a tattoo on her chest just below her collarbone that says "Forever Brian's." She got it when she was quite young, early 20s, about 15 years ago, when she was engaged to her first love, who unfortunately passed away due to cancer, is my understanding. I don't know the history beyond that it happened quite quickly, and she got the tattoo after he passed away. I've been watching her date for about 4 years now, and the tattoo has consistently been a sticking point for the 3 to 4 or so guys that I've seen her with. Each one has said it differently, but they've all said that they'd like her to get it removed, or that it makes them uncomfortable enough to leave the relationship when it got serious. Last night, Ula and my wife were having a girls' night together, and I was downstairs enjoying some Baldur's Gate 3, when they both came down and asked for a guy's opinion and harassed me until I put the controller down. I warned them repeatedly that if they asked me for a guy's opinion, that I would provide one, but it might be hurtful. So, I asked the ladies if they remembered the movie Titanic. They both agreed. I asked them if they remembered what the core theme of the movie was. They both answered that it was a love story between Jack and Rose. So I told Ula, "Do you know who it wasn't a love story for? Rose's husband. Rose's husband married her, had children with her, stayed married to her for roughly 60 years and grew old together, overcame adversity, and successfully had a long life together. But Rose didn't think of her husband or those memories together when she died 60 years later. She thought of Jack. All of that living that Rose and her husband did together meant little, because in the end, when she passed away, she went to her first love, Jack." I looked at Ula and said, "That tattoo is written confirmation that they're not your forever person, which is fine when you're casually dating. But what you're indirectly asking for when things start to get serious is if they're willing to sign up to be your Rose's husband." I agreed that Brian had passed away over a decade ago. I agreed it wasn't fair. I agreed that they were stupidly competing with a dead person. I agreed that removing it won't change how she felt about Brian. My bottom line was this was a one guy's opinion on the matter, which obviously all her previous boyfriends to some degree agreed with me on, as each one had raised it as a serious issue to them. I wasn't trying to start a huge argument, but that's basically what happened. So I tried a different approach and told her, "Look, not trying to start anything, but everyone wants to find their forever person. What you're doing is basically telling these guys you've already found yours and that's not changing. So they keep it casual for as long as they can. And when you try to get serious, they leave to protect themselves. Because no one wants to be a placeholder and it doesn't help how aggressively you defend it." Shortly after, she passed out on the couch, much to my relief. In hindsight, this should have been a conversation to have while sober. So, was I too harsh? Was I an a-hole? Even the next morning, she was slowly crying and committing to removing it, which I told her to talk it out with more than just friends, and maybe seek out a professional opinion before removing it. But I sure felt like a royal a-hole. It really felt like there was no winning here. Just a lot of hurt feelings and distant tragedy. Him being dead makes it even more of a deal breaker. Nobody wants to try and compete with the dead love of her life. You were spot on comparing this to Titanic. Yup, he's dead, so he's idealized. You're competing with her fantasy of what might have been. Yeah, not only has he passed, but he passed when Ula was so young she hadn't had a chance to really see him through adult eyes. I mean, chances were if he lived, they may not have lasted the test of time, but she's seeing him through rose-colored glasses. So if she compares new partners to him and is like, "Brian wouldn't have done this to me," she probably doesn't actually know what Brian would have done because she hadn't had a chance to have real arguments with him. Or she could always just date guys named Brian? My grandmother actually married 2 different guys with the same name. It's doable, LOL. Had a friend once whose dad's name was Randall. Mom got remarried. He was also named Randall. All her kids had the middle name Randall. All 4 of them. It was super weird. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my boyfriend about strippers at a bachelorette party? My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 4 years. We met in college, started dating our junior year, and are part of the same friend group. A couple friends of ours were supposed to get married last summer, but had to delay it to this year. We are both in the wedding party and were invited to the bachelor and bachelorette parties. During the planning for the bachelor party, my boyfriend told me that the best man wanted to go to a strip club, and the groom got the go-ahead from the bride. I am very uncomfortable with strip clubs, just always have been. I am not trying to shame sex workers in any way, but strip clubs just always grossed me out. I told my boyfriend this, and told him I would feel much better if he didn't participate in that part of the bachelor party. I wasn't going to tell him he can't go to the party at all, just that when other people go to a strip club, that he finds something else to do. We kind of got into a fight about it, because he was worried that he would be the only one not going to the club, and would therefore be alone at a bar, or have to leave altogether if the rest of the party wanted to stay there for a long time. I understand that part, but I was pretty firm that I didn't want him to go to the club part of it, and he eventually relented. The parties were scheduled for the same weekend, and the bachelorette party got a hotel suite for the night. Well, it turns out that the maid of honor hired a couple of male strippers to come to the room for a private show. I wasn't really comfortable with it and tried to leave, but the rest of the girls pretty much made me stay. After the parties, I asked my boyfriend how the bachelor party went, and he pretty much just said it was fun and that he hung out at a bar with another couple guys while the rest went to a strip club for an hour or so. He asked how my party went, and I told him it was fun, but didn't mention the male strippers. I don't know why I didn't tell him, I just didn't. At the wedding reception a couple weeks later, I was talking with some people and noticed my boyfriend talking with a group of people in the wedding party across the room, and they were all laughing except my boyfriend. I keep looking at them, and eventually my boyfriend looks at me and he's just staring daggers at me. Like, I have never seen him look at me like that before, and I felt really uncomfortable. He was really cold with me the rest of the night, and he ended up getting pretty drunk and passing out at the hotel as soon as we got there. On the car ride home the next day, he finally opened up and told me that one of the bridesmaids had told him about the strippers, and he was mad that I would tell him not to go to a strip club and then go and hang out with male strippers in a private hotel room show. He said that was way worse than any strip club, and that I was a huge a-hole and hypocrite for it. He said he feels like I'm hiding something because I didn't tell him about the strippers, and he doesn't believe me that nothing happened. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. How did the other girls make you stay? Why couldn't you go to the hotel bar? And why didn't you tell your boyfriend and explain the situation? Right? I seriously doubt the other girls tied her to a chair. You're the a-hole. How would you not be the a-hole here? You made a big stink about the idea of him going to the strip club, yet you participated in the exact same thing, and then lied about it too. Plus, I actually kind of agree that your situation is worse. Private room thing versus strip club itself. Objectively, you're a hypocrite. While it doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, yes, you're definitely the a-hole. I'd like to point out that the very thing he said was going to be really hard for him, everyone else doing it and wanting him to come along, is your exact logic for why you participated. Yup, he lost a lot of face to be true to her. She didn't reciprocate. You're the a-hole OP. She was assertive with him about not going to a strip club. I have a hard time imagining her being too timid to leave the hotel room. And it seems that he was the butt of the joke when it came out that there had been strippers with the women at the wedding too. I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of if someone says they're not comfortable going to a strip club, or if that's a boundary someone wants to assert. But it sounds like the friends at the wedding were having a laugh, and it was obvious that he wasn't in the know. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to acknowledge my best friend's wife? I, 24 male, have been having issues with my best friend's 23 male wife, 20 female, for months now. From the first day we met, she judged me. First, it was because I couldn't attend their wedding. I was working remotely in a different country at the time. I apologized profusely and ordered them a pizza oven as a wedding gift. There were little remarks that my girlfriend, 23 female, could hear in the background of our phone calls. She would write down what she heard from me since I'm deaf. My phone is capable of translating audio calls into text on my screen, but it can only pick up so much, and for the most part, I rely on context clues. It got more ridiculous when I returned to the States and finally met her. She didn't realize that I was deaf. She started yelling, for the record, we can tell, and ignored my girlfriend, who tried to explain that yelling is rude to do. It's much easier to read lips when you speak normally. Any other time when we would meet up, which I made sure wasn't often, she wouldn't look at me when speaking. She was relying on my girlfriend to translate, which my girlfriend shouldn't have to do. I'm capable of reading lips. Again, it's also rude to do, even if I had a certified translator with me. Last night at game night was the last straw for me. His wife offered to order dinner for all of us. When the driver dropped off the delivery, she didn't order anything for me. She apologized and said, "Well, I forgot he was here since he's so quiet." I've never been embarrassed to be deaf until that moment, which is saying a lot because I was born deaf. My girlfriend shared her dinner with me. I ignored his wife for the rest of the night, and we called it early. My girlfriend lied and told them she had an important meeting to prepare for. His wife, I think he asked her too, has been texting me with half-baked apologies that I have been ignoring. This caught the attention of my best friend, who texted me asking why I was being mean and ignoring her. He said she was sorry for what happened and that she wasn't lying about me being quiet. He told me that I shouldn't get so butthurt over a few comments. I've been ignoring him too. I don't think making fun of me or the deaf or hard of hearing community is funny. Am I the a-hole for acting sensitive to this and ignoring them both? I don't want to throw away our friendship, but I feel like it's for the best. My girlfriend is supportive of removing ourselves from them or of forgiving them and moving forward. That she was sorry for what happened. No, she wasn't. And even if she were, you are more important than she is. Take care of yourself first, not the a-hole. Telling a deaf person, "Oopsie, you don't get any food because you were so quiet," is one of the most obtuse, ignorant, and flat-out disrespectful things I've seen in quite a while. That is next-level a-holery. The friend downplaying it, calling OP mean for ignoring the crappy apologies of his a-hole wife, and calling OP butthurt warrants an instant end to this friendship in my book. Friend is as much of an a-hole as his terrible wife. I'd have told her, "Oh, you didn't notice me here? I might be deaf, but apparently you're blind." Just to be clear, that slight at forgetting to get you food because you're quiet was intentional. No way she forgets you, but remembers your girlfriend. My girlfriend said the same thing to me in the car. Tell your idiot friend because he doesn't seem to notice. Or not. Sometimes people can't see anything wrong with their partners. If he was going to realize his girlfriend is an a-hole, he'd have done it already. Drop that friendship fast as heck. His wife is ignorant and your friend is compliant. No way. Thank you. I'm starting to see that from some of these comments. Am I the a-hole for getting a new nurse fired for accusing me of having an affair with my father? I am a hospital social worker at a small hospital. My dad is one of the ER day shift charge nurses. A few weeks ago, I was in the ER trying to figure out placement for an elderly patient. When I was leaving, I had a chat with my dad in the hallway. Before I left, he gave me a hug and told me not to be late for dinner. I joked about how I'm going to order the most expensive steak on the menu since it's his turn to pay. I am 27 female, my dad is 51 male. There was a new nurse at the nurse's station nearby. Pretty much everyone knows that he's my dad. I hadn't spoken with this new nurse much though, and she didn't know. Apparently, she thought my dad and I were having an affair based on what she heard and saw. She knew my dad's married to my mom, who brings him lunch sometimes. She immediately began gossiping to some of the other staff that my dad is having an affair with the hospital's social worker, aka me. One older nurse that I've known for a long time immediately came to tell me. I don't think she liked this new nurse very much. I guess no one decided to tell her that he's my dad. I hate gossipers. I don't know what it is about nurses, but I swear to God, some of them really love to spread rumors. I decided not to take it up with her and just went straight to HR. We were both asked to come to HR after our shift was over, along with my dad. Now the HR lady knew that he's my father. When the new nurse came in, she was asked to explain, and she said that she thinks it's terrible that we would so blatantly have an affair, and she was shocked because she thought my dad seemed like such a nice guy. My dad then decided to speak up and explain that I'm his child. The new nurse was mortified and apologized profusely. The HR lady asked me and my dad to leave. They had a meeting with the unit manager, and it was decided that the new nurse would be fired immediately because she was still in her 90-day probationary period. My mom thinks I'm a jerk and that I should have just brought it up to the nurse instead of bringing it to HR, when I knew she would probably get fired. I think my mom is also sympathetic because she stalked the woman's Facebook and saw she's a single mom or whatever. I think I was right to get her fired because the hospital doesn't need a bunch of nurses sitting on their butts gossiping instead of doing their jobs. My dad is embarrassed and feels awkward about the whole thing. It's not the first time someone has thought I was dating my dad. We aren't weird or anything, but it happens. Anywho, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If you would have handled it privately, she would have just moved on to the next round of gossiping about co-workers. Now she might learn to keep her opinions to herself. Yeah, how hard is it to say they seem friendly? Or ask, how do they know each other? Instead of, oh my god, an affair. Right? Like could have just asked, oh, who's that? She jumped headfirst into the most nefarious scenario to create drama. Not the a-hole. I doubt this was the only reason she was fired. The real hint on this is the other nurses not telling her and letting her tie her own noose. I agree that's very telling. If almost everyone knows OP and her dad are related, and none of them decided to tell new nurse when she was gossiping, she already had pissed other employees off for them to not tell her. If she's gossiping openly about her co-workers, what is she saying about her patients? What private info is she releasing? You were right in going to HR. You didn't get her fired. She got herself fired because they realized that she was untrustworthy and a possible lawsuit if she released private info. Not the a-hole. Exactly. As healthcare professionals, we have a responsibility to maintain patient confidentiality and uphold a professional work environment. Her behavior was completely unacceptable, and I'm glad HR took swift action. It's not about being harsh or mean, it's about ensuring our hospital provides a safe and respectful space for patients and staff. Next story. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my co-worker by outing her as the one who keeps stealing my tea? So, I, 28 female, work in a pretty chill office. We've got a shared kitchen area with a take one, leave one vibe for snacks and drinks. People leave extra granola bars, packets of oatmeal, all that. Cool, but the unspoken rule is, if it's labeled, leave it alone. Anyway, I'm kind of a tea snob, and I bring my own imported stuff from this place my grandma used to order from the UK. I keep a little box of it in the kitchen cabinet with a big label on it that says, "My name's T. Please do not take." Smiley face. Except, someone's been taking it. Not just 1 or 2 bags. Half the box disappeared in a week. So, I did what any mildly unhinged office girly would do. I slipped a few decoy bags into the box and soaked the tags in fish sauce overnight. Dried them. Resealed the wrappers. Waited. 2 days later, one of my co-workers, we'll call her Tina 31 female, comes storming out of the kitchen, gagging and asking if someone tampered with the tea. I stayed quiet until she said, "I don't know who buys that weird brand, but it tastes like a literal fish tank." And I said, "Oh, that's mine, the one with my name on it?" She went pale, dead silent, and then mumbled something about not seeing the label. Now she's mad, telling everyone I set her up and that it was a malicious prank, when all I did was booby-trap my own tea. HR hasn't said anything yet, but some people think I crossed the line. I didn't put anything dangerous in it, I just made it gross. And honestly, if you're gonna steal tea from a labeled box, you deserve the fishy consequences. So, am I the a-hole for basically tricking her into exposing herself? Not the a-hole, that's hilarious. And save allergies? Not dangerous. If she was concerned about allergies, she wouldn't be stealing tea anyway. This massage therapist that rented a room in the doctor's office that I used to work in would take my stuff sometimes. I didn't mind for the most part because she was an old family friend, and I knew her. The only thing was, she would get upset if I even touched her stuff. Whatever. One day, she took my bottled iced mango green tea and drank it on a day that I wasn't there. She's allergic to mango and was telling me how she had a slight reaction. It's a branded store-bought bottle that was clearly labeled to have mango. It was a selling point. It's why I bought that tea. I responded with, well, it's nice to know it has actual mango in there. And as a person with allergies, I would never do anything like that. I was kind of shocked that she did do that. After that, she didn't take my personal items as much. Not the a-hole. I hate entitled people who steal food. I solved this problem by never using shared areas, because if you can contaminate your own food, other people can cough, touch, or steal your food. Too many years working with gross people, I just can't do it anymore. Why isn't the next step asking HR the following? If they steal food from coworkers, what else will they steal from the company? Thieves get coddled. My grandpa resigned his post as treasurer at the Elks Lodge because he successfully did a sting on one of the bartenders. She was taking hundreds of dollars. But the lodge didn't want to raise a fuss. He said, the books don't square unless you prosecute. They did the non-committal shrug response, so he resigned. He'd been there 20 years, had his head on the wall of heroes, and they chose a thief bartender over him. Their loss, he joined the Legion and had a lot more fun, even if their kitchen was tiny. His drinking picked up, which wasn't great, but it was close to the house, so I'd pick him up. We held the 50th wedding anniversary and his wake there. The Elks Lodge had a full commercial kitchen, and he helped out there a lot too. His picture on the wall of heroes was earned through hard work and community building. And none of it mattered. Don't rock the boat is some messed up, repugnant nonsense. Next story. Am I the a-hole for humiliating my husband's lifelong friend after she insulted my parenting style in my own home? I, 29 female, have been married to Leo, 31 male, for 5 years, and we have a 5-year-old daughter and a 10-month-old son. Leo's childhood friend, Sarah, has always been part of his life. I've tried to be polite with her, even though she has a habit of making snarky comments about me whenever she gets the chance. Since Leo is a pretty reserved person and doesn't have many close friends, I just let it slide for years. A couple of nights ago, we hosted a dinner party with some old friends, and Sarah came along. There was a fair bit of wine, and Sarah got tipsy enough to run her mouth. She started going on about how Leo had always told everyone he'd stay single until 35, and how wild it was that he'd married someone like me so soon. It made the whole table awkward. Leo tried to calm me down and asked me to brush it off because she was drunk. But it didn't stop there. Later that night, our daughter was playing on her tablet. She has mild sensory processing issues, and sometimes screen time helps her calm down. Sarah saw it and loudly said, "Wow, I can't believe you just throw a screen in front of your kid like that." If I had a child, I'd never let them rot their brain with that garbage. That was my breaking point. I told her to shut her mouth and mind her own business. I reminded her that this was my house, my family, and my child, and she was in no position to judge anyone's parenting, while she couldn't even manage to hold down a relationship or live with someone other than her cats. She burst into tears and left shortly after, and most of the guests followed. Since then, Leo has told me he gets why I was upset, but thinks I was way too harsh, especially given Sarah has had depression since her ex-fiancé cheated on her a couple of years ago. Her friends have been texting me, telling me I'm a monster and demanding I apologize. I blocked them. I don't really feel bad. Sarah has made countless passive-aggressive digs for years, and this was just the final straw. When I told Leo about all her other subtle insults that he never noticed, he was stunned. He ended up blocking her too, and now some of their old friend group is torn apart. Still, a little voice in my head wonders if I went too far by throwing her personal life back in her face. Sarah is clearly struggling, but she kept poking at me and my parenting. Am I the a-hole for finally snapping and telling her off? Not the a-hole, and have a block party. Block and delete anyone who says you should apologize. They are not your friends. She's jealous he didn't pick her. Not the a-hole. Protect your babies and open his eyes to what she's been doing. Thank you. I'm already on block and delete mode. No regrets. Anyone defending her doesn't care about my family's well-being. I'm done keeping quiet. And you're right. My kids and my marriage come first. A couple of years ago, she doesn't get a free pass to be an a-hole whenever she wants because someone got sick of her 2 years ago. Not the a-hole. The fact that she's doubled down makes it even worse. If she can't stop running her mouth when she drinks, that's on her. Right? 2 years is plenty of time to work on healing, not to use it as a pass to treat people like crap. I'm done excusing her behavior. If she can't handle her own words, maybe she should rethink drinking so much. Thanks for backing me up. Not the a-hole. Leo is partially at fault for allowing it to get to this point, but it also sounds like you weren't communicating everything that was happening with Sarah in real time. I understand you didn't want to interfere in his friendships, but that's only valid as long as they are not trying to interfere in your marriage, which is something she's been trying to do all along from the sound of it. More communication all the way along would have been damage control. You said Leo doesn't have many close friends aside from Sarah, so I'm not sure about the significance of the rest of their friend group being torn. Hopefully this clarifies for Leo who his true friends are. He can stop investing in the rest of them. Generally in adulthood, if you have just a few solid ride-or-die friendships, you're doing all right. Totally fair. I see now that I should have spoken up way earlier instead of trying to keep the peace. It probably would have saved a lot of drama. You're right that real friends don't act like Sarah, and hopefully this helps Leo see who's actually worth keeping around. Thanks for laying it out so clearly. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my flatmate use my balcony? I, female, moved to another city to go to uni and rented out a room in my flat since it had been empty. The girl who moved in is a friend of my ex, but she's very sweet toward me and we always got along well. My ex and I don't speak anymore, but I thought we could all be grown-ups and respect each other. Also, at first, she didn't seem too involved in the whole situation and had always been pretty neutral. I furnished the whole flat myself, and we set up a contract stating explicitly which rooms are common areas and what she can use. This includes the kitchen, bathroom, corridor, and her room. Of course, she can use everything freely such as dishes, dishwasher, washing machine, etc. My room is bigger and has a balcony, not listed as a common area, since it's only accessible through my room, which I have always been transparent about. She still agreed to the conditions and price, and had initially been fine with everything. When she moved in, the balcony didn't have any furniture yet, but a month ago I had finally saved up enough money to create a cozy space there. We always got along well and sometimes hung out together in my room. I saw that she had noticed the furniture on the balcony. I had gotten a grill, some chairs, and a table. The problem started after a while, when she asked if my ex could throw a party in my flat while I was traveling. I immediately told her no, and she was very understanding. But after that, I had a bad feeling and started locking my door every time I left the flat for a few days. A few days ago, I stayed in my hometown and got a text at almost 1 in the morning, asking why my room was locked and saying that she wanted to have her dinner on the balcony earlier but couldn't access it. She texted me this all casually, as if it was totally obvious for her to go into my room. I told her that the balcony and my room are my private space and I didn't want anyone there. She got a bit mad and said that it was only fair for her to access the balcony since she has been paying the same rent price as me. She said that means she should be able to access the balcony. Now she wants me to keep my door unlocked so she can use the balcony. Quote, especially since I will be traveling during the summer and no one would use it otherwise. Here's my opinion. I rented out one room in my flat and we set a contract where I explicitly stated which rooms were available for everyone. She agreed to the conditions and the price. If she had thought it was an unfair price, she could have said no. Now, after a few months, she feels entitled to access other rooms. I told her no, and she got mad, even after I offered for us to use the balcony together while I was home. I offered that we have a barbecue together or just have breakfast on the balcony. Nope, she wants to have access to it while I'm out of town, which means I would have to keep my room unlocked. I think it's a complete invasion of privacy, and I don't want to give up my privacy for someone else's comfort. I also don't want her there because she treats my things with zero respect and already broke a few smaller things without replacing them. But still, I feel kind of petty and mean, since I've always been a people pleaser and she's always been super kind to me, respected all the rules, etc. I don't want bad blood between us. Am I the a-hole for telling her no? Not the a-hole. She knew that she was only renting one room, but I am certain she has your ex over while you're not there. I'm also certain she's having other people over and portraying that entire space as hers. In order to keep your peace and your sanity, I would consider seeing if it's a month-to-month lease and telling her that you're not renewing. She needs to go. Get her attitude as soon as you can and find someone else to rent that room with no ties to your ex. Most people understand boundaries. Totally agree. If she's already crossing boundaries now, it's only going to get worse. Best to find someone with no drama attached. I would say the following. The agreed-upon contract includes your bedroom, the corridor to your bedroom, access to the second bathroom, and access and use of the kitchen and living room area. The agreement does not, and never has, included my private bedroom space or access to the balcony, which can only be reached via my private bedroom. If you no longer find the lease terms to be agreeable, you can submit your 30 days notice to move out without any financial penalty. Accessing spaces that are not included in our agreement will result in the termination of said agreement, and you will be given a 30-day notice to vacate the premises. Don't even play with this stupid nonsense. You agreed to rent the room, not your private bedroom and balcony. She knows what she agreed to, and you need to hold firm to that, not the a-hole. Update. Am I the a-hole for winning a couple of million on the lottery and giving half to my ex before I met my current girlfriend? Original post. So I'm 35 male and was with my ex from school until 5 years ago. We have a child together too that we both co-parent really well. We never fall out and with each other, but the love and attraction has all gone. She cheated on me, but there's more to the story than that, and it's not all on her. 2 years ago, I happened to win around £4 million on the lottery. My first thought was my child. I wanted him to grow up with an equal life like he has mine, and the less stress his parents have, the less stress he has. I decided to split the win with my ex. We have both been sensible with the money. I quit my job as a mechanic, took my sports and football coaching badges, and with a friend, we started a business going around primary schools doing classes in all sorts of sports and fitness, and also helping out local sports clubs and teams with coaching and methods, etc. It will never make us rich, but we make around 1.5 times the national average wage. I bought a £300,000 house and a £40,000 car, and that's about it. My ex opened up a beauty salon that's doing really well and also bought herself a house. I met my current girlfriend on a night out around 6 months ago. Things have been going well. She knows I won the lottery, and that's why I've got a nicer house and car than my income will normally provide, and why I like to go away on a couple of nice holidays a year. She's never asked for anything from me materially and kept insisting on covering half the dates, despite me offering to pay every time. We are getting more serious, but nowhere near moving in or anything like that, or her meeting my son yet. It all came to a head last week when the subject of my ex came up and my girlfriend said how nice her beauty salon is. We were with a couple of my friends, and one of them said, "It should be nice. Sam paid for it." She asked what he was talking about, and before I could answer, my friend said he gave her 2 million quid. My girlfriend was quiet for the rest of the night, and then when we got back to mine, she exploded and said I was still in love with her. And that's why I gave her the money, that I wasn't normal, that no wonder a lottery winner only lives in a house like this and drives a crappy car. When I gave half away, that I was a gullible simp, how embarrassed she is by me, how we could be set for life with that money and never work again, etc., etc. It went on for so long before I told her to leave, as I'm going to bed and not listening to this anymore. I haven't seen her since, and she hadn't answered my calls or replied to my messages, apart from the odd insult. Until today, when she said the only way she could stay with me is to ask my ex for whatever money she has left to be returned to me so she can save face. I told her no, and I'm done with her. She again accused me of trying to buy back my ex, and I blocked her. Is this going to be a problem I have with other women going forward? Am I the a-hole for this? Now for the top comments before reading the update. You did a good thing for the benefit of your child and your child's mother. Well done. Current girlfriend, though, sounds like she was just after your money from the beginning. I agree, but it's surprising as she never asked for anything before. Even when her car broke down and I fixed it, she tried to offer me money for it. She was playing the long game, brother. That's why she erupted in anger, because she realized she made a bad bet that wasn't going to pay off like she was plotting. That's what my friend said. He said she was going to act like this until she had her feet under the table. Laughing out loud. It may be a problem for other women you date going forward, but that's a good weed-out method. Someone who properly loves you will see that you're a good man who took care of the mother of his child and ensured that both of you can have a good life, even though you're no longer together. I think it's a green flag. Thank you so much for putting my mind at ease. I was starting to think I'd done something wrong, but I didn't know what. Some people will say you did too much, but at the time of your win, you and your ex had only been separated for a couple of years. And if you had won it when you were still together, you would have split it 50-50. I imagine it makes a lot of things easier for you as a co-parent knowing that you split the win with her, since she can never really say that you owe her anything for your child, and your child is well provided for. It just felt right, because what's the point in my son having one rich parent and one struggling parent? Now for the update. Just a quick update as I got a lot of nice comments and messages on my original post. She unblocked me and asked for forgiveness, but I said no, it's gone too far, and for me it's over. She didn't take it very well, and I got bombarded with abusive messages for a day or two, but they've stopped today as have the phone calls from a withheld number. A few people asked on the last post why I gave my ex half, rather than put it in savings for our kid. Between us, we have nearly $1 million that we have put aside for him that cannot be touched and will earn interest over the years. As for the cheating which a lot of people mentioned, we were each other's first for everything, and we talked about it and both admitted a few years we felt a touch of regret. We both agreed to threesomes, so over the course of the next year or so, we did it with a few men and a few women. Unfortunately, she ended up catching feelings for one of the men. Not the end of the world and no reason for us to fall out. I can honestly say that you appear to be a good person. Good on you for standing up for yourself and not take that sort of abuse. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. You're a green flag, and in revealing so, you've weeded out a red flag. I'd almost suggest keeping your lotto win quiet for the next girlfriend, but in a way, now you know how to work out quickly if someone's with you for your money. I wish you success with finding love and your sports program. That really sounds cool. Thank you. I love the sports program. Yesterday, a mom came up to me and said how much her son is enjoying it, and he's having a birthday party next weekend, and when she asked who he wanted to invite, the first person he said was Coach Daniel. I'll be honest, it had me tearing up LOL. You're a real man. You know that, right? Like a real good one. Sacrificing half your wealth for the betterment of your child was a real power move in the realm of maturity, in my opinion. I think your kid is going to have a significantly more stable life because of your decision and receive the myriad of mental health benefits that accompany that. Be proud of yourself and screw the gold digger. Someone like that isn't worth a second thought to a man of your caliber. You're making me blush, lol. Thank you. Money is like a good litmus test for dating, to be honest. I had a guy whom I grew up with and knew came from a wealthy family test me on a first date regarding money. I passed but felt too uncomfortable to continue seeing him. He said it worked really well in the past, and I'm sure he needed to do tests like that, but the fact that we'd known each other more than a decade and he tested me was super uncomfortable. But he met someone who passed, and they're doing great from what I understand, so great for them. Have friends that come from money, and their dating game is so annoyingly complicated. They have to sniff out the gold diggers, but also the people who would bring about negative attention to their family's businesses, the people who wouldn't be able to adjust to their lifestyle, etc. It's no wonder many of them just prefer to move to Europe or North America, reinvent themselves as a trust fund babies, and just shack up with someone who has no clue about their generational wealth. Next story. Am I the a-hole for skipping a family party because I didn't want to see my half-sister or her dad who hate me for being an affair baby? I, 17 female, have a half-sister, 19 female. I always knew she had a dad and I didn't, but when we were 5 and 7, she started telling me she wished I had never been born and she hated me. and her dad hated me because I was an affair baby. Our mom thought we were close, and she hoped being close in age meant that stuff would never be an issue. But my half-sister heard about it from her dad when it was his parenting time. He told her to make sure I never used anything he bought for her. She told me about that. She said anything that her dad bought her was for her, and her dad would puke if I used them. Whenever mom or someone else in our family called us sisters, she'd get mad at me and say I wasn't her sister, and she'd yell at me when no adults were around. I ended up telling our mom what was happening when I was 7. And even then, I felt conflicted because I hoped she'd like me and knew she'd hate me more for telling. Mom tried to do stuff we'd both like, and she would praise whenever we could sit and get along, even though my half-sister was just waiting until mom wasn't around to be mean. When she got a little older, she started doing a bunch more activities, and there were more chances for me to see her dad when mom would take me along to support my half-sister. He was rude or gross to me. There was a time he told me not to look at him because I wasn't his kid, and he called my mom a whore and said that's what I was destined to be too. There were so many incidents with him, and my mom knew about those, and she'd get to fights with him. That made my half-sister angry, and it kind of built until she was 13, and told mom that she didn't care that her dad was awful to me, and I was a gross affair baby, and neither of them should need to be around me. My half-sister chose to live with her dad when she turned 16, and she didn't come to mom's at all. My mom tried to fight for custody and intensive therapy, but lost because of how old my sister was. I saw my half-sister at school, and she took every chance to be mean and nasty to me. Our extended family knew about everything, but because mom cheated, they had kept in touch with my half-sister's dad and always included him in stuff, but he'd decline. Now he's accepting stuff, and I saw them twice in the last year. So when another family party came up yesterday, I chose not to go. My mom and family tried to make me go, but I said I didn't want to be around my half-sister or her dad. They told me it was the wrong decision and I shouldn't let them keep me from my family. But I don't want to be subjected to their hate for me anymore. I'll never have a sister. He'll never just ignore me, which would be way easier. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Tell your mom flat out. That being forced to hang out with your sister is cruel, and she needs to stop punishing you for adult mistakes. Not the a-hole. She's forcing you to endure abuse to soothe her guilt, not your problem. She's putting her comfort over OP's safety, and that's not OP's burden to fix. Not the a-hole. Your mom and her dad are the a-holes. Your mom for cheating and creating this situation, as well as not protecting you, and her dad for treating an innocent child this way, and for brainwashing his daughter into believing you're the enemy. I feel bad for you and your sister. What could have been a healthy and supportive relationship was destroyed by these two terrible human beings. Don't go to these get-together if they're going to be there. Protect your peace. Protect your peace and skip the family gatherings. Who needs that kind of chaos when you could be binge-watching something way more entertaining? Did your mom ever told you what happened to your real father? She let me contact him. He doesn't want anything to do with me and considers me a mistake he made. Just curious, did they do DNA testing to be sure who is your father? If not, I'll do that at least to be sure who it is. Not only monetary, but for medical reasons as well. Of course, not the a-hole. Yes, he's on my birth certificate and everything as a result, and I read the official papers that said as much. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my cousin have my old car, even though my aunt says I owe the family for being successful? I, 26 male, work in tech and recently bought my first new car. It's nothing crazy, just a reliable sedan. My old car, a 2009 Civic, still runs, but has a ton of miles on it. I plan to sell it cheap or trade it in. So my aunt, who's my mom's sister, heard about the new car through our family group chat. She texted me saying her son, 19 male, could really use a starter car and asked when I could drop it off. There was no question about buying it. It was just straight up asking when I could give it to them. I told her I wasn't planning to just give it away, but I'd sell it at a reasonable price. It's not worth much, but I've taken good care of it, and it's mine. She immediately got snippy and said I make enough money now. She insisted it wouldn't kill me to do something nice for my cousin. Honestly, She's always had this weird resentment toward me for getting out of our small town and doing well. Her tone turned passive-aggressive really fast. She said things like, "Some of us didn't get handed life on a silver platter, even though I worked full-time through college and took out loans." Now she's telling the rest of the family I'm selfish and that I've forgotten where I came from. Even my mom gently suggested I should consider giving them the car just to avoid drama. But I don't think I owe anyone a free car just because I make a decent income now. I offered to sell it fairly, they refused, and I left it at that. So, am I the a-hole? Trust me, you should sell it to someone else. Save yourself the headache. With that kind of entitlement, any little thing that happens with the car in the future is going to come back to haunt you. Well, OP, you shouldn't have sold it if the tires need changing, so you should pay for brand new ones now. So what if my darling precious has had it for 2 years and put 78,000 miles on it since we got it? And the worst part is, if the car ever breaks down, they'd go crying to the whole family again about how I screwed them over with a junk car. Lose-lose situation. That's exactly what will happen. Instead, you send a message about how it really sucks that it broke down the other day and the mechanic said the whole transmission is shot. A new one would be worth more than a car, plus all the other issues they found. But hey, you were able to junkyard scrap it for $300, so you were at least able to cover the tow. Guess you were lucky to get your new car when you did, and that you didn't give that piece of junk to your cousin. Those are exactly the type of people you should never give anything to, no matter how small. The fact that they are family and feel entitled to the fruits of your hard work already will slowly get worse and worse, with more expectations, as soon as they realize the guilt trip works. Wouldn't kill you to do something nice for a 19-year-old kid who hasn't done anything yet to deserve it? Just respond, "You're his mom." Wouldn't kill you to work a few more jobs like I did and buy it for him. And wouldn't have killed you to use birth control if you didn't want to pay yourself for whatever you wanted to give to your kid. And on a practical note, if they can't afford the price of a 2009 Civic, they definitely can't afford to do whatever repairs it will probably need in the next few years. And they'll lean on you for that, or blame you for giving them a crappy car. Your mom is way out of line. You need to tell her that she raised someone who learned that you don't get stuff unless you work hard and earn it. If she cares about her nephew, she should have the same attitude for him. You're 26, so already a full, well-established adult. You no longer need to take disrespect from your aunt just because your grandfather and grandmother chose to have 2 kids. As an adult, everyone, including family, needs to earn your respect every day. Oh, if they say they'll buy it and pay you slowly for it, don't do it. They won't. And they'll use it for 6 months, and then when it needs a repair that they can't afford, they'll just stop payments and blame it on the old car you sold them.